there are certain family members in each family that sabotage this damn thing.
1,000%. They don't want to see the person get well, and they're stuck in the disease. And the worst thing is when the person gets well and then turns around and basically says, yeah, you know what? I've made an amends, but you got to get your shit together.
I'm Flindt Andersen, founder of Pain, Parents and Addicts in Need. I've been in recovery since 2001, and there isn't much I don't know about recovery. And my mission is to constantly tell the truth about addiction, to make the realities of addiction, recovery, and drug culture known, and to drive awareness and advocate change that ultimately saves lives.
And I'm Jason LaChance, a certified recovery coach with a passion for speaking with others and sharing their knowledge to help others seek recovery and maintain long-term sobriety. And this is the Don't Hide the Scars podcast, presented by Pain, Parents and Addicts in Need.
Flindt Andersen, we welcome a renowned interventionalist, author. I love his latest book, A Dose of Positivity. And I'm going to sit back a lot during this. A gentleman told me he learned from his acting teacher, one of the best things you can do is understand you have one mouth, two eyes, and two ears. So I'm going to sit back a little bit. Mike Diamond, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to have a conversation with people that get it. Doing crazy people. Seriously.
That's perfect.
Well,
True.
I've not had an opportunity to sit and talk with two gentlemen that do interventions at the same time. And we've not really talked much about it here on the podcast. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about interventions. I think there's some people irresponsible. Like I was telling you, Mike, and I think I told you, Flindt, I had someone that was like, hey, can you do this? And I'm like, no. I've never done it. I've never been to one other than my own father's. Like, no, that would be so irresponsible for me to be like, yeah, I got this. No.
Yeah. So, Mike, I'm curious because I'm a little different, and no matter what I do, okay, as it relates to this, because when I start out doing an intervention, I want to get in and out of there as quickly as possible. I want to get that person out. Okay. I don't need people writing letters going, we love you. And you've done this. Fuck. Everybody knows what we've done. You know what I'm saying? So again, just give me a little taste of what you do when you start one of these things.
It's so great you said that, because when I first started doing it, the person that I was working with, who was supposed to be mentoring me, did the letter thing, the Johnson approach. I studied the Johnson approach, and she was completely horrific. And she would be reading a letter, and I'm like, first of all, who wrote this letter? Because I wouldn't, I was supposed to be shutting my mouth, right? And she had no idea how to build rapport. And she was just talked down to people because she was well educated. And I was like, this person's not going to treatment. They're going to bail. So they would bail. And then I would take the next approach, which would be sit down with them kindly and get to know them, meet them where they're at, and be really specific of what they were doing, and say, look, you're making disempowering choices. Like, this is not working. Whatever you want to do, I have a solution. Maybe you should try this. And what happened was she was constantly failing, and I was actually doing the interventions. So I was like, I might as well do this myself. So the first interventions I would get would be, people would be like, we want to get together and we want to read letters. And I would be like, no problem. And I've been successful doing that. Like, I've been successful making it loving, making it like bringing in the right people. But a lot of the interventions I've had to do were like, find this person, do this, do that. And I get a bit of information, which could be Jason. I'm like, give me two or three things he likes.
Yeah.
He likes baseball, likes it. Great. That's all I need. I'll go find him.
Yeah.
And then I would just do the one-on-one executive style and sit with them, and then just get into their little micro world and figure out where the pain was, where the trauma was, identify with it, and then present a better opportunity. And that's all I tell people. I don't tell them how long they're going to go in for, because no addict wants to think 60, 90 days. I don't tell them how long they're going to stop for. I'm just like, look, you're homeless or you're in a crack house.
Right.
And if you don't think that's rock bottom, it ain't going to get better. So why don't you try something I can suggest, right? And we'll go from there day by day. And every person that I've done it that way, And the key is once I get them in, I communicate with them every day. I know they're going to detox and want out. Why would you want to detox? I have spent days, and I mean days, with people doing detoxes where I'm like, get a nurse, I'll detox them myself because I know they want out, and I just spend time with them. So I've used the Johnson. On the show, we use the Johnson, right? Intervention. It works for me. But I just use whatever I have to try to make them make an empowering choice.
Yeah. That's, look, I have found over the years that the at least for me, the best way going in there is I talk to the family first and foremost. We meet separately and a couple days beforehand, whatever it is. And I want every family member that's involved in this there. And then I go over the whole list with the family, the do's and the don'ts, what I'm going to expect of you during this thing, what I'm not going to expect of you, blah, blah, blah. And then when I get in there, I blow it all to hell. And right. And because during that pre-meeting with the family, they're always going, okay. I get this. I understand this. This is a great way to do it. Okay. Thank you, God. We love you. The fact that you're here, blah, blah, blah. Right. And it gets in there and everything turns to shit in 30 seconds. Yeah. Okay. And then after that, look, man, I like the term meeting them where they're at. And I do that. And I think as an interventionist, they understand when we start talking about where we were with this, and the minute we say, I get you, I get where you're at because I've been exactly where you're at. Right. And even with that statement, though, there are times when that person will go, you don't understand where I'm at, kind of a thing. So you got to play that game a little bit. But I keep it. Look, I've been in interventions that have lasted 15 minutes. I've been in them that have lasted 15 hours. There is always comes a point, though, where, and I tell the family this ahead of time, I will know when this person isn't going.
Yeah.
And when I reach that point, I'm out because there's nothing that I'm going to be able to say, do, prove, nothing that's going to get that person there. Now, it hasn't happened very often, but it has happened. But again, I think when you're doing these interventions, honesty obviously is the key. Get to the point immediately. And yeah, I will use methods sometimes that will be a little questionable, right? As far as, because I just want to get the person there. If we can get the person there, we've won the first battle.
And get them out of the bad choices they're making. But I agree with you. Like, it all goes out the window. And the one thing that I think that you get that I get is that it's a feeling thing as well. Yeah, and a lot of people try to have this whole script. It's like when I remember years ago at acting school, I use a lot of the techniques I use from Meisner technique of studying people and getting the background work. And I remember Brando said, acting school is great, but you don't send a tiger to jungle school. Right. Like, you've got to feel people. And some people go in there and they've got these PhDs now, like a bad therapist. Like, that's not an intervention. Right. You're just talking at someone.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So for me, I walk in a room and what? I've had interventions where the person had set up the intervention. I'm like, this person shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Like, why? I'm like, it's the wrong person for the room. I can see like they're just wrong. Their energy sucks.
Right.
And I pulled them aside and like, I don't think you should be here. Like, oh, you don't know who I am. I'm like, no, I don't, but I don't like your energy.
Right.
And the funniest thing is, we do the intervention and the person goes, thank God Uncle Ted wasn't here. He's a dick. I'm like, there you go. That's Uncle Ted. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
And that's another thing. It's like some people do this stuff and you guys get it where they're doing it. Like I did a podcast the other day and someone said to me, do you promote your intervention? Like, no, people, right. I do an intervention and the next person calls me. I've been very lucky, get a lot of celebrities, a lot of people. I'm like, I don't set up like I'm the greatest interventionist and I have a click funnel. People call me. I do the intervention, and then the next person goes, hey, get Mike. He'll get you in treatment or help you. And some people I pass on. I've had some people, I'm like, no, you need a woman. You probably need this girl. Or, you know what? I've got someone that's really good. They're like, what? I'm like, he's a little different. You need this person. I'm good in this area. And like, because we're all different. There's some people that I'm like, yeah, maybe I've got a girl. I had a couple of girls. I'm like, this girl's really good with girls like this.
Yeah.
This girl, you know what I mean? And I've done women, don't get me wrong, but there's some people, it's all a personality thing. You know what I mean? And I like how you said it, because you've got to have a plan, but you deal with nothing goes as planned ever.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised top quality care with programs for detox and patient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living support groups, and more. New Perceptions North provides adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect, in a safe, comfortable environment to begin the process of recovery to proudly create and sustain a life without addiction. Call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
But we go in with a plan. Yeah.
Right. It's the old Tyson Mike Tyson statement. You know, everybody's tough until they get hit in the mouth. Right.
It's true.
And it's so true.
But it's true. It's proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. 100%. Right. And we go in there with a plan and we have a structure. But you know, anyone that's successful, like it's like you just said, like fighting. Like you could have a game plan. But if you're not flexible,
right?
Addicts, they're feral.
You bet. You bet. One of the things I definitely do, though, and this may sound weird to people, and I don't really give a damn, but I always will sit in my car before going in, even on the way there. Then I sit in my car for 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is. And it's simply prayer. And it's simply, Lord, put the words in my mouth that you want me to say. You know, and I repeat that and I repeat that and I keep praying that for 10 to 15 minutes, because like you said, and I said, you know, it's going to get blown to hell. So when I walk in now, it's like, I don't have to worry about that script or what I thought 30 minutes ago. And, oh God, am I going to forget that, you know, kind of thing. No, I got full confidence that God's going to lead me through this thing and direct me through it. And guess what? Every single time he's done it. So there it is. That's that. Now, people may disagree, but again, I don't care.
No, you know what I love about that as well? Like what I always say is that I'll do the preparations, and if it's letters, whatever. And then I just surrender. Yeah. I don't know. And I just go, I don't know. And I let my intuition guide me, because I've had interventions where there was one where it was a woman and she didn't want to go. And someone else was running the intervention. And I just kicked everyone out of the room. And I just said, let me have coffee with her in the kitchen. And I just sat her down and I said, hey, look, I don't know if you're an addict. I just walked into this, but I know you hate your husband, right? Because she was like mouthing off at her husband. I said, but you got 2 daughters that love you, right? She goes, yeah. And I was like, why don't we do this? Why don't you just go, right? Your daughters love you. I'll go with you. I'll get you into treatment. And we go from there. Yeah. I don't know if you're an alcoholic, but let's just do it for your daughters. She's like, I'll go. Got her on the plane, got her in there. And it was totally unscripted, and she went. Another guy was smoking crack. Every bottom line didn't want to go. I said, let's just have lunch. And we're having lunch. And he's half Greek, I'm half Greek. We're starting talking. I was in the clothes business as a kid. He was in the clothes business. I said, look, I'm going to ask you one question. He said, what? I'm like, it's just one question. Just answer the question honestly, and you'll make the decision. He said, what? I said, are you happy? He said, I'm not. I'm miserable. I said, okay, let's work from there. Let's just get you happy. I know if you get sober, we can start straight into treatment.
Right.
And it was like everything, because it's like if I'm having a conversation with you as a real human, and I'm spending time to study people, and I've done a little work, I'm going to just feel you. And if you don't feel me, you're going to go, fuck this guy.
Right. And by the way, I've had people go, fuck this guy. Okay.
And you're like, okay, I was that guy.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like that, like you said, it's that perfect, it's finding, and no one can teach it. It's a perfect, like, you know it, like I know it, like, it's like all the work you can do, right? But at the end of the day, when you're on the free throw line, you've got to be able to know how to throw that free throw. Yeah. And that's what people can't train. It's like it's got to be in you to like people and to know people and to feel them and to want to be near them. and to want to see them do good. And that resonates because the addict, that breaks into the subconscious mind, and the addict goes, yeah, this person actually, he's here for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's where everyone gets it. You get it, Flindt. There's all these people out there doing interventions. Like, you shouldn't be doing interventions. You're not doing an intervention to help them. You're just fucking trying to make money.
That's it. That's exactly right. Let me ask you this, because sometimes with an intervention, and I've had this a couple of times over the years, where I've suddenly become that sober coach for somebody, to where not only did I, get on a plane and fly this person to treatment and go back and pick them up and bring them back and get them into sober living to where they're at. And then, I'm kind of on call for them, for however length of time. And again, like I said, when I start this stuff, I explain everything to the family, but then in the middle of that sober coaching routine, my God, I've had family members just come unglued at me, for a variety of reasons. And it's like I sat there and I tell them, guys, I explained this to you in the beginning. Okay, what I was going to do, how I was going to do it. By the way, the person I'm dealing with is doing just fine. Okay, and my point here is this: whether it's the initial intervention or it's afterwards, we got to get the family out of the fucking way here. Okay, because I've noticed more times than not, it's the not every family member, but there are certain family members in each family that sabotage this damn thing.
1,000%. They don't want to see the person get well.
Right.
And they're stuck in the disease.
Right.
And the worst thing is when the person gets well and then turns around and basically says, yeah, you know what? I've made an amends, but you got to get your shit together.
Right.
Right? I just had, look, this is the worst thing. I had a dear friend who, her significant other was just not right, and she finally left him, and she was like, I can't do this anymore, because he just wouldn't get sober, and he killed himself. And she ended up, he called her and she had to discover the body. And I said to her, look, you did the right thing because you weren't willing to support his disease and addiction. You were supporting his recovery. And unfortunately, he didn't want to get well. It's horrible, but it's the truth.
Right.
And I've been around people that I've set up interventions and I've done everything to the last moment. And then they're like, I can't do it. And I'm like, all right, you don't get this. This addiction is a family disease. And unless the person does like I do, I left my family. And I always say, if the blood is, they say blood's thicker than water, but if the blood is toxic, you got to get a blood transfusion.
Yep.
Get the fuck out.
I agree.
And you know what I mean? And I'm like, nope, set the boundary, set a boundary, set a boundary, set a boundary. Nope. You know what I mean? Especially because they bring the trauma back and the stories and the bullshit. It's like, no.
Right, right. And then what I'll do is, again, if that person doesn't go, or this is what I always leave them with, is simply this. I go, I understand. I said, but you know that you can call me, and when you're ready, I will be there for you. And when you just make that simple little statement like that, it rings true with that person. Because how many times, I don't know about you, Mike, or you, Jay, but I had people doing interventions on me and I didn't want any part of it. But man, when somebody said, hey, when you're ready, call me, I'll be there for you, that rang true with me. And I did.
Yeah. See, I walked into meetings because I was done. Like, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. But I know for me, like what you said is, like I said, look, once you get sober, you know a better way. End of story. So I don't it's like, tell people, it's like, you can do that. You're going to keep feeling awful, or you can do this. It's hard, because we have vices, but you're going to be healthy and you're going to think clear and your life's going to be great. But hey, it's on you. I got plenty of people to help.
You bet.
I ain't going down the rabbit hole with you. If you don't want to make empowering choices, don't make them. That's on you.
Yeah.
And everyone's rock bottom. Some people don't. Some people's rock bottom is death. We know that. I've watched people. They're like, "Are you kidding me, dude? you're burning alive. Yeah, but I can pull more gasoline on. Okay.
Right. It's like I say, there's always 10 more feet to dig, you know. Rock bottom to me is death, right?
So true, right? It's so true. And some people just go down the rabbit hole. They just don't want to, they don't want to face the pain and work through it.
Exactly.
It sucks.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
I want to ask, because Mikey brought up a really interesting point that stuck with me, talking about, maybe it was a particular individual and going, I'm not right for that intervention. When you assess that, is it oftentimes maybe if there's a trauma situation, let's say it was a female, her primary trauma went through sexual abuse, and it was a man, that maybe it's not the right situation to be the person to open up to. Maybe, you look at it in that way. And with that, I want to talk about kind of the aftercare of the process, because I know both of you gentlemen remain connected to those individuals, have been there, take them to their treatment and so on.
With me, if it's a woman, I just find there's certain women I've worked with that just resonate better with women. It's the truth. Yeah, I've had to do women interventions and transports. Like, I've had to find people, and I've never had a problem, but like, there's a different connection with younger guys. It's easy for me. I have no issue with young guys. I've had to do a couple, I got called on one. It was just an older business guy, and I just had someone better in mind. I said, you know what? I got a guy that's going to connect with this guy better than me. And it wasn't that I couldn't have done the intervention. I just think there's just personality types. Mm-hmm. I just had a friend that I'm like, I know this guy would click way better. You know what I mean? It was, and I'm not that I can't stretch myself. I just like to do it the softer way. Like, if there's someone that I like, now knowing Flindt, I'm like, there's a guy that has got his kind of personality, I'd be like, I've got the perfect guy for it. I have no ego. If there's someone's going to click better than me, I'm like, dude, I got a perfect intervention for you. And I think that's where people get it mixed up, because it's not one size fits all. Like, I personally don't do invitational, right? And then I used to get called on these invitational interventions. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like the invitational. I'd rather go in there, get it done, kill it in the moment, right?
Yep.
There's some people that do that. If that's the intervention, I'm not the guy. Get someone that does if that's what you want to do. I'm more Johnson, more executive. Let me go in. My age group is a certain thing. Like, if it's a musician or an actor or those guys, it's easy for me. They click.
Right.
They just, but the executive types sometimes don't like me. They just, so I'd rather pass it on. Some women, go, you go.
No. I was just going to say, and I've always believed in this, because you said it correctly. Even like women, like counselors. Okay, I am a firm believer that women need to talk to women counselors, because us guys, right? I'm sorry, we don't get women. I don't give a damn how much we say we do. It's not stamped out. And women understand women. Men understand men. It's sort of like taking a female to treatment. I did it. I did it a couple of times years ago, and I will never, ever do it again. I will never be in a car by myself with a woman, an addict woman, okay, or on an airplane or nothing. I won't do it. I will take another female with me, but I'm telling you, man, that's an accident waiting to happen right there.
I got stuck with a big celebrity true story at an airport, and I had to transport him, and I did the intervention, and the person was screaming, "He's taking me hostage!" And I was just like, "Oh, whatever."
Oh, Jesus!
So I just turned around. I was like, "Look, if you think I'm taking you hostage, you can leave. But I haven't taken you hostage." And out of her mind, right? And I was just like, it's going to be a long one. And then we got on the plane, and the person was out of their mind. They're like, "You're so mean." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." And they're like, "Can I put my makeup on?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they started like literally drawing on their face. And I was like, oh my God. And they pulled me, they're like, "We're going to divert the plane." I was like, "Look, they're going to divert the plane." But what I knew was that she had kids. And I was like, "Look, if we get caught," and she was a big celebrity, that they'll take your kids, right? because they'll know you're using. She's like, oh. But after that, I was like, no, man, no. Like I always say, right? It's a perfect example. My wife has a different bond with my son than I do, right?
Yeah.
That kid grew in her stomach, right? I might say thing, but I don't have that bond. I'm dad.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, dude, get it together. Where she just has a different love. I don't have that connection. So
Right.
there's a connection that women have that men, the way I talk to my son or the way I talk to a guy, I'm like, dude, get your shit together. Come on, you're messing up. Like, what are you doing? Pull your head out of your ass, right? What are you doing? Smoking crack. You're out of your mind, right? It comes up. He's like, you're right. I can't say to a woman, get your head out of your ass.
Get your head out of your ass. That's right.
What do you say to me? Like, you really hurt my feelings. I'm like, sorry. That's what I mean. It's the truth. It's like, so I get a woman that can deal with those emotions without looking at me like I'm a psycho.
Right. Oh, that's funny. I didn't tell you this, Jason. We had our fundraiser dinner last Friday night, and I don't know, it was like 2:00 in the afternoon, and I'm driving around, and I get a call from a guy that him and his family came to me back in 2011, 2012, in regards to his daughter. And this is a young lady who, I mean, brilliant, gorgeous, successful in the real estate business, and wound up getting into both meth and heroin at the same time, and and for years, I mean, living. I don't even have to explain it to you guys. You know what I'm saying? I mean, living like she was in San Francisco right now. And so I did a couple of interventions on her over the years. The family kept coming to the family support meetings. And then I kind of lost contact the last 3 or 4 years. I know she was out there, blah, blah, blah. But I get a call Friday from this dad who's crying on the phone. And he had his second wife with him. And we helped her son as well. And both of them, here's this young lady who is now a year clean. She's doing amazing. And this is a young lady that, I'll just say it, she wrote some stuff about me because, I was my hard ass, right? And she didn't like the way I did stuff. But she's clean, she's sober, she's working. There's a couple of medical issues there, but that's okay. And so you got to think that intervention or two, or whatever we do in the meantime with these, it took hold somewhere, Mike, you get it. It whatever we might have said, it took hold somewhere, because this young lady, I'm telling you, for years, I thought she was never going to make it. If anybody shouldn't have made it, it was her. But man, what a turnaround.
The one things I like it when the kids run, and like if we do a family one, they just run or they bail. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I just go and I coach them back in slowly. And then I've done some where like I've done it and I'm like, yeah, he's not ready.
Yeah.
And then they run, and then I'm like, yeah, give me a week, whatever. And I go back, and I've done one, the guy kept bailing. We get him into treatment and he'd bail, and I'd find him in different places. And like parents would give me the address. I actually went into a trap house one day, and like in Houston, I just got the address and I put on a hoodie and ran in, and he was playing guitar in this crack house, smoking crack. I was like, hey, what's up? He's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? And then I'd bail, and a day later, I'd just get a hotel, and he'd call me like, yo, I think I need to get sober. I'm like, you really? No, the house was fine. Living the life, brother, right? And then they would go in, and he'd laugh. He'd tell the story like, "You never push me." I'm like, I can't push you in,
right?
I can't push you in. I can only just show up and kind of surprise you, and just kind of keep dropping some seeds in there, and eventually, I would say it's attraction over promotion.
Exactly.
Because I know whatever. And what's messed up, right? This is crazy. So when I was in Las Vegas doing my book signing. And someone called me, coming on 18 years of sobriety, and they called me, like, you in Vegas? I thought they were coming to the book signing. and they were hanging out with some celebrity friends, and they wanted me to get them cocaine. I was like, I'm fucking nearly 18 years sober. And I didn't take offense. I was
Sure.
just like, shit, like that was my past. But if I was still partying, I'd either be dead or partying with them, right?
Yeah.
And what it made me realize is that, like, I always think I have an older cousin who I'm very close with. She's 10 years older than me. And if she would have pulled me aside when I was a kid using and said to me, I love you, would you go to treatment? I would have gone. Like, I loved her. I still to this day love her. Like, she's like my best friend.
Mhm.
So I always think of that person. I'm like, who's that person in their life?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? That can
Yep.
that really unconditionally loves you, because I never really
Yep.
got that love from either parent. And I always think her name's Des. Like, she was that close to me. She's like, I adore her. And I'd be like, if Des would have pulled me aside and said to me, hey, Mikey, come on, let's get you healthy, I would have gone. She has that much power over me. She always has. Like, she's that close to me. So I always think, who's that person in that person's life? We always got one. You've got a coach, you've got someone. You always have one person that we like. And if that's not there, then I've got to be that person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've got to plant that seed of hope. Like, hey, if you can stick with this, I'll be there for you, but you got to do the work.
Absolutely. You know, it's like we just posted a reel, you know, we honored my best friend at our dinner on Friday night, and we just posted this reel of me and him, and he's been my best friend for 50 years, you know, and he's the guy that got me into my last treatment center. And a lot of times, and again, we talk 2 or 3 times a week still. I mean, again, we're as close as can be. You got to check out that reel. It's pretty cool. But
I've got it,
but I tell people too, I said, you know, do you have a best friend? You know, because best friends can sometimes be more effective than family members, you know, at this, because there's that special bond between best friends that can't be explained, you know, most of the time. But I also have to tell you this. I did this with this one kid one time in intervention. I think he was like 22, and I go over to his house, and again, he sat there. He was polite. He never said a word. I gave him his options. And of course, my options usually get, again, depending on the situation, hey, dude, here, we got a bag packed for you. Okay. You can either go to treatment or you can walk out the front door, you know, and good luck to you, by the way. And afterwards, he stands up. He comes to me, he puts out his hand, he shakes my hand, and he says, and he calls me Mr. Andersen. He says, Mr. Andersen, I appreciate you coming in. He said, but I'm going to choose the latter. Wow. I'm not going to go to treatment. And he said, thank you for your time. He picked up his bag and walked down the street. Okay. It was the most polite intervention I've ever been in with this kid. And of course, 3 days later, he found out the streets weren't exactly what they thought they were. Right. And came back and went to treatment. He's doing fine. But I mean, I can still get surprised during these things.
You know, it's really interesting. I say some of that, like, I know people to this day that still won't accept the fact that they're addicts, or just the behavior. Do you know what I mean? The family, the dysfunction, the just the co-signing of just the bad behavior, codependency. But if you really break it down and you go, okay, this person is making really bad choices, and you cut them out. You say, look, we're not going to support these choices. Right. Very few people are going to really, it sucks. Like, there is people, of course, that are homeless and they've got mental health issues. But most people, if they've come from something that's codependent, if they hit the skids, they'll turn it around pretty quick. Like Absolutely. You said, like, I've had people, I'm like, leave them in jail for a week. What do you mean? I'm like, they think they're a tough guy, leave them in jail for a week, see what happens. And then they get around some real criminals, like some real hardened criminals. They're like, this is a little different. This isn't the movies. Like, do you know what I mean? And they start to sober up and really sober up, and they're like, oh, wow, like, I've got no lifeline. But it's incredible. What sucks to me is people's fear of, because their own sickness, it's better the devil you know. instead of just going, no, this, you got to cut them off. You've allowed this to happen. Now you have to draw the line. And most people won't do it. They just won't, don't have the ability. Nope. And it's bad.
That delusion that there's some kind of, I mean, Flindt, you fight it so often, you know, owning a treatment center, and we talk about it, is this delusion of some sort of certainty after all this happens. It's like, there is no certainty other than, hey, if you do it and you work this and you start to do the next right thing and make these empowering decisions, you're going to have a better life. That we can guarantee. But what that's going to look like, yeah, we can't get your, you know, are you going to have to face some of these issues? Are you going to have to learn to make an amends? Are you going to have to learn that maybe Uncle Ted is the one that sucks and fuck you, Uncle Ted, I don't want a relationship with you, and the rest of the family's going to have to accept? There's all these different things that can come other than that guarantee of you're going to have a better way of life.
Isn't it incredible that like someone said to me the other day, like, I can be honest, like I got asked to write a new book. And I was like, I don't want to fucking write a new book. Just take it as it is. And I'm being honest. It's like, it took me a long time to write it. And then I started to write it and going through the process, and I'm writing a better version. It's a journal to be an add-on for the book. And a lot of people, especially it's going to a school program, I talk about cocaine. A lot of parents don't want that. So I've got to script it a little differently. It's fine. And I'm getting up at 4 a.m. and I do all my breath work and stretching, and I just do it. And I'm sitting there the other morning, and, you know, some mornings you get up and I'm like, I'm so fucking sore. Like, I'm physically sore, right? So I'm stretching my body out and it hurts. And I do deep stretches. Like I pull the muscles until everything's out of it, right? And I'm sitting there the other morning, and it's like, and I'm going, wait, if I had $1 billion in the bank, if I had just won the Olympics in gymnastics, if I had the best coaches, the best whatever, I'd still be doing this fucking stretch alone in the dark.
Yeah.
It sucks, right? And that's the stuff that it's so hard to tell people. Like, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter where you're going. At the end of the day, we have to do the work in the dark by ourselves to shine in the bright lights.
Yeah.
And if you can't sit with yourself and your feelings and your emotions and unravel that shit and untangle it and be okay, like I always tell people, and we were talking about it, you know, it's like everyone wants that, well, tomorrow, right? But you're going to miss the moment in the future if you can't be in this moment now. Right. We're always trying to escape this moment, thinking, well, tomorrow if I get this. No. The brain is wired for the dose of the dopamine and the novelty. Yep. But it's just stuff, right? If I go to another country, it's food, it's stuff. Maybe they speak another language. It's just we accumulate stuff, and the accumulation of stuff is to escape this.
Yes,
it is. Right? We've got nowhere to go.
Nowhere.
Right? Right. But that's like the hardest reality. I tell people, you're trying to escape the thing that's inescapable. They're like, what? Right. I'm like, this. Just be here. Right? This fucking body that we're still trying to, like that's why I tell people, like, do you cold punch? I'm like, stop. You don't just do basic stuff and do it consistently. There's no one way to do it. No one has the pill for longevity. You're going to face your creator one day, right? Do what you can in the moment. That it's obviously doing fentanyl, drinking excessively, doing all these stupid things we know kills the body, kills our brain. That's basic shit, right? Eating bad foods, whatever. So what can you do right this second? Because all we have is this podcast.
That's it. Right. We have what is right now. We have what is right now. That's it. We don't have a second from now or tomorrow. Nobody's guaranteed 1 second after right now.
I could get off this podcast, right? And I've had friends. A friend of mine, I sent him a text message, said I got rushed to the hospital, my heart, like I've got heart issues, right? Like I've watched people get off the phone to me and dead the next day, young, in their 40s. Like I don't know what's guaranteed. All I can do is guarantee I'm present here.
Right.
And I'm being a good person, and I'm not hooked on my vices, out of my mind.
Right.
Yeah. What's the saying? No matter where you go, there you are.
I love that.
And that great saying, everywhere you go, you always take the weather with you.
Yeah.
So it's like, if it's stormy in here, it's like I say, people are like, I want to get $1 million. If you're an arsehole and you get $1 million, you're still an arsehole with $1 million.
That's exactly right. I know a lot of those guys.
Right. It's like I tell people, you accumulate all this stuff, right? But you're alone because you're so paranoid because you're worried about everyone stealing it. Then you die, and then they have a funeral. Maybe people show up, maybe they won't. Then they have a wake, which is a party that you're dead. And then people fight over the shit that you accumulated, and you never enjoyed it because you were so worried about everyone stealing it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's perfectly
Just be a
said.
good person, right?
Yeah.
Just be a good person. Be kind and help people. Stop being a dick.
Stop being a dick. That's it.
I've had that conversation with people where they've done if I was a millionaire or billionaire, what I would do. And I go, you don't even live a life capable of that. I'm going to tell you, you're talking to a guy that acknowledges me with $1 billion is probably a bad idea.
$1 billion, true stuff, right? If I really had $1 billion or I had excess amount of money, knowing what I've been experienced to, I would get every homeless person I could. Seriously, I would first of all pay off every bureaucrat. I would pay off everyone, so I owned the politicians. I would find land that I could actually build facilities for people to eat, because we have billions of dollars and people are starving. That's ridiculous, and people can't get medication. And it's okay. These people have mental health issues. They need homes. They can't function, right? Give them a nice place to function. These people are addicts. They need rehabilitation and treatment. Give them actual healthcare and systems, right? Build it properly. That's what we should be doing with the money.
Yeah.
And then be look, now people actually have medication. People have education. People are actually, that's what you do with money. But we don't do that because we want people to be like, we want to control people. And at the end of the day, what are we controlling?
Yeah.
It's like, it's controlling what?
Mike, here's an interesting statement. I said it the other night at the dinner.
Yeah.
And this was when we were talking to Tom Wolfe.
Yeah, you were good and fired up, man.
Oh, God, I was fired up.
I cried 3 times at this dinner. That Flindt got me twice, and then Pam's video about her son.
I'll tell you what, I belong to this group of guys at our country club that were they're called the Aces. Okay, these guys are the greatest. All right, they're just the greatest. I had about 8 of my guys out of the 20 that were there were crying during this thing, and these guys don't cry. I mean, it was unbelievable. But this is part of what I said. I said the city of San Francisco, because you just clicked it in my head, Mike. The city of San Francisco has a $539 million budget for substance abuse treatment, and they have a grand total of 57 beds in that fucking city. Where's the money going?
Wow.
Think about that. I'm going to do a little study on all the major cities, and even maybe some of them are a little less, but I'm going to find out all these budgets, and I'm going to start in on where's the money going. 57 beds? Are you kidding me? And they've got 20,000 practicing addicts in the city of San Francisco.
Yeah, when I went to San Fran, I couldn't believe. I went up there to do an intervention, and I was shocked this is how hardcore it was. We went to a Walgreens to get some medication, and I was like, damn, what's that smell? And I looked around, and there was a homeless guy taking a crap in the Walgreens.
Yeah.
Like literally on the floor. I was like, oh my God. And then when I was getting this guy's medication, I was like, shit, someone may kind of rob me for the medication. It was that bad. Like there was that many homeless guys. And I was like, oh my God. And we went out in the street, and and we were staying at the Four Seasons, but they sent us downtown. And I said to the guy at the Four Seasons, I was like, why did you send me so far downtown to get medication? He goes, all the Walgreens are shut down, man.
Right.
I was like, oh my God. The next day we went to the same Walgreens to get more medication, and a guy literally picked up like his mobile air conditioning unit and just walked straight out the front door.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never seen a city, and a guy that lived in New York, and I would go to San Fran years ago. It was such a beautiful city.
Yeah.
I was just in shock at like how bad the homelessness is and how bad people, I don't know. I don't know. I just can't understand how it doesn't go anywhere. Like, what are you doing with the money? Like, I'm sorry. To me, it's just so retarded. I don't say the word retarded, but I just don't understand how you can't be kind to people. I just don't. I just don't understand how you can't help people.
Right. It's like prejudice. I don't understand. I never have been able to comprehend how somebody can be so hateful and so prejudiced against another race. And maybe I don't want to know.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think we get it because it's not in our makeup. You know what I'm saying? That inability to comprehend is because it's not in our makeup.
Yeah, question, right? So I read this book called The Fourth Turning, and I'm reading a book called Generations. And obviously, like, I'm Greek, Italian, Middle Eastern, a bunch of stuff. And Australia was pretty bad growing up, pretty racist. And I know I grew up around a lot of racist people. And so obviously culture and the environment programs us, right? So the early years we're programmed. But I always say, like, deep down in my core, intuitively, I always know the right thing. I've got a good moral compass. And then part of me wonders, does that voice just stop working in some people? Because I know it's right. Like, I get messages back from my son's school, like, he's so kind, he's so compassionate. I'm like, well, yeah, because I'm kind and compassionate. He doesn't see me yelling. If I see a homeless person, he's like, what's wrong with him? I'm like, he doesn't have a home. You have a home. Give him money. Oh, okay. So when he sees a homeless person, he's the first, my son, if I have $1, he'll give it to the homeless person. Not afraid of a homeless person. He's like, here. Do you know what I mean? Because it's in his brain. Be kind. Be nice. He hugs kids. And he said to me the other day, this kid didn't want a hug. I said, son, some kids, only 5. Some kids want a high five. Some kids get a hug. Some kids don't get anything. He's like, okay. So now we ask them, do you want a hug? Do you want a high five or nothing? Like, nothing. He's like, no problem. But he goes out of his way to be kind, right?
Right.
Like, so it's like, but no one was kind to me growing up. They beat the shit out of me. They were mean. And so it's like, does that part of the intuition just shut down?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's sort of like when there's somebody standing on a street corner. I had somebody one time tell me, I don't know, we were talking about, excuse me, and they said, why do you give them money? And I said, first of all, I don't give everybody money on that street corner. I said, but because they go, well, you know, they're just going to use it for drugs. They're just going to use it for the alcohol. They're just going to use it for whatever. And I said, okay, I go, you can think that way. I said, but it's not about what they're going to do with the money. It's about what we are doing with our money.
There you go.
It's about again, God, it's the kindness that we're showing to somebody else. I can't, once that dollar bill or that $10 bill, whatever it is, leaves my hand, I have no more control over that. It's like a baseball pitcher. Man, I could stare down that batter. I could get the sign from the catcher. He can give me the target. And once that baseball leaves my hand, I have no control where it goes.
It's true.
And that's my philosophy in giving somebody. My goal is to help that person. After I give it, I have no control over where it goes.
I agree. Yeah,
it's all about the kindness. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I just sorry, go.
And I was going to say, and that response, I've gotten that from people too. They're just going to use it to buy booze or drugs. It's like, if you were living in their circumstances, wouldn't you? No. Like, why are you having a judgment upon it? I
always find that interesting when someone says that, and I'm like, all right, so you're addicted to social media, you're addicted to shopping,
yeah,
right? You're addicted to all these other things. You probably have a pretty shitty relationship. Have you ever been present? So you're judging this person for their choices, but you have no clue of what they've suffered to be in this position to try to remove their pain, right? And they've probably had no help or education to actually get a better way, because it's really hard, man. If you're boxed in and you're boxed down, no one helps you. No one helped me. I had to figure it out. So it's like, so you prejudge someone because someone gives them $1 or $2.
Right.
Like,
I don't get it.
People? Yeah. Are you out of your way going to help people? Are you being of service? Or you just live in your little bubble thinking, well, the world's not like me. Look at me. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just fear. It's just fear.
And the older I get, I really don't give a shit what those people think. Okay, to be honest with you, I don't care. Yeah, isn't that
When you
great?
get to a certain age when you're just like, I don't give a fuck.
I just don't give a
to
shit.
prove. It's
Right.
just, you get too old. You're just like, when I see
I don't have
people
to.
at a
I don't have
certain
to
age,
prove
I'm
myself to anybody anymore.
like, I always say the best thing is when we just try to improve the world and we have nothing to prove.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Just go around trying to help people.
Right.
And I found the more I live my life and my thinking is that I've got nothing to prove, the more my life has led me towards people that have just been an amazing gift to my life. I mean, I'm talking to two gentlemen right now. It's just like, whoa, my circle has just by default shifted. I mean, everything from the asking of help. I mean, I've asked you both of help in different ways, and it's just like my life has just shifted. I mean, you and I, Mike, have literally had conversations like, dude, no, work out the idea. There's no judgment here. And it's like, oh shit, this is a really different thing. Or bring Flindt an idea and, well, maybe, but let's kind of push it this, let's stretch these ideas. Yeah. It's a really wonderful place to be when you get there. Like, I don't give a shit about hanging out with those people that I used to think it was so important anymore. I just don't.
It just sucks when people don't give us time. Right. No one gives people time. Do you know what I mean? Time to just process things. I bumped into someone the other day in the grocery store, and he's like, dude, your book changed my life. I was like, oh, what about it? He goes, time. I go, what do you mean? He goes, how you explain time? I didn't realize I had so much time to do things. I was like, well, give me an example. It's like I wait for my daughter to do soccer practice. I'm like, okay. And he's like, I would just sit there and be like, oh. He goes, now? He goes, I'm learning a language. I was like, oh, great. He's like, yeah, because you made me understand like it's a choice, not a chore. Like, what are you doing with that time? You could learn a language in this many hours, or you could do this and do that. So I'm always looking at how do I spend my time? Because no one gave me time with myself to spend any time. I was just around so much abuse and yelling and screaming, and I couldn't work on any skills. And every time I try to work on a skill, someone would sabotage me. So I give people time. If they're struggling, they need time to figure it out. They may need some information. They need some love. They need some kindness, right? Like, what do you need? Oh, yeah. Here's a couple bucks,
And that's like when the addict gets out of treatment, I truly believe we're not allowing them enough time to heal, because treatment is not, again, it could be debatable, but treatment's not the healing place. Treatment is the getting off the drug place, right? The healing takes place after that. And we're not given enough time. Well, geez, I got to go back to work, or I got to do this, or I got to do that, or blah, 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 blah. And this, Jason, my thing is it takes 2 to 4 years, okay, for things to start becoming normal again, and the brain starting to relax and getting back to normal. I mean, so again, that time thing comes into place, and obviously we're living in a time that doesn't allow us to have time. I mean, what's the first thing we do in the morning? We grab our phones and go, what's on TikTok? What's in the email? What's on Facebook? I mean, Jesus.
I apologize to 2 friends of mine last night, right? I am so meticulous with my phone that I don't touch it. I go to bed at say 8. I get up. I get up at 4, 3, 4. I don't look at my phone until 7. I don't. And there was 2 messages that came through. One was her husband's, locked up, and the other one, she got rushed to the hospital because she has heart issues. And I said, I'm sorry. When I put my phone down, I apologize. I didn't know you were going to call. I lock in. I don't look at it for 3 or 4 hours. But as soon as I sleep, those 3 or 4 hours are my time. I journal. Right. I do all that stuff. And I try to tell people, if you can get those moments by yourself. And here's another thing that people never teach you. And I actually... It really rang through to me when I was watching a clip from Al Pacino. I actually did a clip on it. He was talking about doing Richard III. It's Al Pacino, and he's really famous. And he said he didn't tell anyone he got the part, but he couldn't figure the character out. So what he would do is kind of lie to them and think, oh yeah, let's come back and do some more rehearsals. But he was really doing the extra rehearsals, because he couldn't figure out the character. And then he said he was 85 performances in. think about this. He's been doing it for 85 performances, thousands of hours of rehearsing and reading and studying. He goes, I was finally sitting in the dinner scene, and after the 85th performance, I kind of understood the character. Like, I try to tell people, like, this is a guy that he's a great actor, and 85 performances in, most actors would have quit. They would have blamed themselves. I was like, I don't know how much time I need by myself in the morning. Like, this morning I got up, I was crazy. No reason. I need to stretch longer. I need to journal longer. I needed more time with myself. I just wasn't in a good headspace. Yeah. So if I'm not doing that work alone, before I even look at my phone and get comparison syndrome and, oh my God, everything's like first world problems, I'm out of my fucking mind.
Exactly. But you said something interesting, Mike, and think about this. You didn't pick up your phone, right? You didn't look at your phone. But what did you do for that person? You apologized for not picking up or looking at your phone. Why do we have to apologize to somebody for us not looking at our phone during that time when we need to spend that time by ourselves?
He needed me. I was like, sorry, man, I don't.
Right. Here we're being apologetic for what?
Right. And you shouldn't, right? And here's the best thing is, because people depend on me, this is the best. And I said, I know you're probably not going to check this. I know you're probably sleeping, but I thought I'd message you, and they know I'm not going to check it.
There you go.
Unless you tell me, because I don't. Like, I'm so meticulous. The only person that gets my time that hours is my wife and my son.
Yeah.
And I will always pre-warn them if I'm traveling. I'll say, hey, like, that's the only time, because I'm in the house with them. But if I'm traveling, I will keep it on just in case my wife calls. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I'm away.
Of course.
Otherwise, I'm serious. I just go, I don't need to look at that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
And then I don't react. I'm never in a panic when someone says, hey, this happened, that happens. When I've had situations like people have been, if they don't tell me, oh, I'm not on a job, they're locked up. I was like, I told you, man, I'm sorry. I don't. That's my time. I'm sorry. Right. It's I've got to take care of me, because then what happens is I get in a scramble and I haven't set my tone. And I'm like reacting to things, and then that's my day. Reaction. Right. I'm stuck out there, and it's hard to get back sometimes.
Well, Mike, and I know you already know this. All right. Look, doing what we do, we are always on call. We are somebody always wants something, and I am going to say this. And so Friday night at our dinner. Right. I mean, that's a night of celebration, a night of talking, a night of just some fun and relaxing. And I'll just say it, I had a person come up to me, grab me off to the side, and proceed in a 10-minute conversation about their kid. And when I should have said, you know what, can we talk about this next week? But they and again, we do what we do because we love it. But
there's boundaries, right?
There's got to be. I mean, but people don't adhere to any of. Right. I don't know. It seems to me they don't enter.
No, you're right. I was at Rock to Recovery, and I was doing red carpet, and I was interviewing people with Myra, and this person just did the same thing. I need your help on this. And I'm like, I'm hosting a red carpet. Yeah. I'll give you my number. This is not the time and place.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry. And they kind of looked at me like I was weird. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm working right now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, and then when you do set the boundary, people get all upset. I'm like,
right.
There was cause and effect to get to you this place. I didn't cause it. I'm going to try and give you a solution, but at least give me some space here.
No kidding.
I agree. No.
I want to wrap up with something that when you guys were talking made me think of this. As you both know, I'm a huge Prince fan, and I was listening to this podcast about one of his tours and one of the new musicians in his band, and he was talking about how Prince made him so diligently practice and over and over and over and over. And I drew a parallel for me talking with a friend of mine that reached out and said, hey, I need help. What do I need to do? And I said, you're going to do 90 meetings in 90 days. Well, I don't know if that'll work for me. I said, I don't know either, because guess what? No matter what, you're going to suck at recovery at first. But I guarantee you, after you get through 90 of these, It's going to all of a sudden be like this musician that worked with Prince. He was like, even when I had a quote unquote bad night, I had a more phenomenal night than my usual.
Yeah.
And you're going to get there to that point. And so sometimes it's about that diligence towards this new approach with life.
It is.
I mean, I would tell people straight away, I did 3 meetings a day. And I'll tell you why, because I got great people around me when I went into meetings, and I was in the bar business, right? Owning bars with rock stars. And I sold a share of one to have money. And I said to him, I need to open another bar. And he's like, okay. And I had investors. And he's like, what's the issue? And I was like, well, everyone's telling me I'm going to relapse. He goes, are you going to do coke and you're going to drink? I said, no. And he said, open the fucking bar. Stop being a baby. And breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I knew if I was going to go back into the belly of the beast and be tempted with the girls, the sex, the drugs, I had to be sober. So there was no excuses. I couldn't go to a rehab. It was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm honest. I'm the first one to say it. And it's funny because I was talking about this new book. When I'm writing this new book, I put off certain things like stretching and yoga and things like that. And there's a great story. I was in New York City in August back in 2006. I was about 4 months sober. And I was standing in this hot room doing a stretch, and my heart was racing. Like I wanted to kill myself. Like I was like, what's going on? I can't handle this heat, right? And I was running and doing all these things back then, and nothing was triggering me like that. So I wanted to avoid it. I was like, I don't like Bikram yoga. So when I started to write the new book, my body was stiff, and I'd done some trauma therapy, and I'm like, I got to stretch my body out. I just knew it, right? And I started to get into this stretch, and my heart started racing. I was like, holy shit, this is the Bikram thing. So I put my heart rate monitor on, and my heart was getting up to 140 in a stretching position.
Wow.
Because of the trauma that was locked in my sympathetic nervous system. I was like, oh my God, I haven't worked through this stuff. Mm-hmm. So now, right, I can stand in a stretch for 2 or 3 minutes, or I can go into a deep stretch and not panic. So what I'm doing now is like, if I can't do those rituals like you're talking about, I can't sit in a meeting and be present. If I can't listen to someone, if I can't read and can't do these things, like you talk about sobriety, then I'm not living anymore. Right. Because when life comes in, I can't get centered and live.
Right.
Joe, right. So you nailed it. The meetings, the connections, dealing with the right people, your childhood friends, really those things keep us centered and grounded and give us a good life.
You bet. Absolutely. You bet.
Mr. Andersen.
Mike, you're the best, buddy. I mean, seriously, this has been just this has been wonderful. Just a good old conversation, man.
Real, dude, like real for once.
Yeah,
not like this, like clickbait,
yeah.
like go and tough it up.
No, this is good stuff. Thank you as always, man. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We love you. And we want to do a whole bunch more of these with you. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You bet.
I'm there for you guys. And what we should do is we'll do some stuff where I can come up there. It'd be nice to do some stuff where we actually do some live stuff up there. You know what I mean? And just like I'm all about community and bringing people together and bringing opportunities for everyone.
Yeah. And I was going to say too, if you ever need, because we were talking about interventions, and if you ever need somebody, if you've got somebody older that may relate to an older guy, call me. I mean, dude, I'm there.
I think I appreciate it. I appreciate it because we need that. I'm one of those people. I never like to, that I'm not one of those scarcity guys. I'm like, it's not right for me. And I love that because there's so many people that need help, and people are so screwed in their head, like you can do everything. You can't. I've only one person. We need as many people that are really good and know how to do it as possible to help these people.
Let's do it, man. Absolutely. Let's do it. Thanks, brother. Appreciate
Thank you guys.
Love you, brother.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
See ya.
Love yous.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.